Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Andrew, and today we're going to go over 10 signs that you're actually a really good fish keeper. Now, I've been fish keeping for a little bit, went to a ton of auctions, I've done fish interviews of people, I've done plenty of fish room tours of other fish rooms, and one thing I noticed is that there are a series of things that show up in every fish keeper that is generally good at fish keeping. And so today I want to share 10 of these with you guys. The last one is pretty interesting. And if you have multiple one of these, you're probably a good fish keeper. Keep track, and in the comments below, let me know how many of these 10 you actually have or do regularly or frequently. But without further ado, let's dive into it. Alright, so the first sign that you may be a really good fish keeper, and it's important to note that any one of these signs, if you don't have one of them, doesn't mean you're not a good fish keeper. But the more of these that you have, the more likely it is that you're doing something right. Now, the first sign that you're a great fish keeper is you have species-only tanks. Now, what is a species-only tank? Species-only tank means you have a tank dedicated to just one type of fish. It's the exact opposite of a community tank, right? Now, most people do enjoy community tank because you got different fish with different personalities, different movements, different colors, right? All of that. There's lots of going on, and it's entertaining to you, the human, right? Now, when it comes to species-only tanks, you are dedicating a tank just for this one type of fish for a specific reason, right? You're not putting any other fish. It's probably more tank than you need for the fish, and you're dialing in its habitat specifically for the fish's needs, right? The water chemistry, maybe even the biotope as far as what you plant and rocks, what you put in there is applicable or is closely related to what that fish will find in the water, right? And so like a species-only tank or a biotope type tank, if you have one of those in your fish room, or you're thinking about getting one, chances are you're probably a pretty good fish keeper because you're starting to think about the fish needs for your own. And just to give you guys some input about what some species-only tanks can look like, I have my Amica splendens tank, just the Amica splendens. These are a type of goodeids that are critically endangered in the wild, so I want to make sure they're species-only. No other fish are going to munch on their baby as they reproduce. Also have a type of pup fish over here. They're species-only. They're fairly rare. Haven't seen them. They're hard to find in the fish store. And so there's lots of different reasons why you may want a species-only tank, and this is two good reasons, right? Whether they're critically endangered, whether they're rare, there's tons of reasons why a species-only tank is a good call for you. And for those of you who thinks that species-only tanks can get boring because you only get one type of fish, no, it's the exact opposite. When you find a type of fish that is worth dialing in everything for, there's just an extra layer of enjoyment where you get to figure out very specific needs for this fish, and then you get to see in real time if you're right and if you dialed everything in correctly. So that's number one sign that you're probably a good fish keeper, is if you have species tanks or even biotope tanks for that matter. Now, sign number two that you're a good fish keeper is fish swim towards you when you approach, right? Now, this is more applicable to your fish room or even other people's fish room, right? So generally what happens, the more you interact with your fish, the more they start relating you as something safe and not dangerous, and the more they start relating you with food, right? And so if you have your feeders, your fish automatically fed, if you're neglecting your fish room or your fish tank, chances are when you go by the tank or when other people go by the tank, they may not swim up to you because they generally haven't associated you with food or with safety or whatever it may be. And so why this isn't a for sure sign, because there's some fish like guppies and other live bearers and greedy eaters that are just always going to be at the front of the glass anytime anyone is around the tank. But when you start to see some of these other fish, maybe these tetras and rasboras, that are swimming towards the tanks to, I guess, get closer to you or any other person that gets by, that's probably a good sign that you're putting in the effort and you're consistently showing up to your fish room or your fish tank so that these fish are starting to notice that. Sign number 3 that you're a good fish keeper is food diversity, right? Any fish room that I've gone to, or any fish keeper that I've talked to a lot, they've always have lots of different foods that they feed their fish, right? They may have a staple flake or pellet food, but they also feed spirulina tablets or baby brine or black worms on occasion. They harvest maybe mosquito larvae, or they chop up shrimp or blanched zucchinis, tons of different things that you can do for your fish. But the psychology behind this is, are you thinking about that? Or is food just a checkbox? Like, I got a thing of flakes, done deal. They can eat the rest of their lives on this stuff. And there's not that there's anything inherently bad with that, but when you start thinking, well, how else could these fish enjoy themselves and really eat the things that they want to eat outside of flake food, and you really start to experiment with different foods or different flakes and pellets and even live and frozen foods, you start to see what your fish really prefers and what they don't prefer. And so what I notice is that people who are generally better at fish keeping and more in tune with the fish, they normally have a greater diversity of foods that they feed to their fish. Sign number 4 that you're probably a good fish keeper is DIY options, right? Now, this could be anything. This could be using tubs for plants. It could be using, I have a 40-gallon food grade barrel that I'm using to keep fish in. I have greenhouse panels that I'm using as lids, right? Some of these DIY options just show the level of effort that you're putting into your fish room, your fish tank, your fish, whatever it happens. You know, some of the things that come off the top of mind, if you think about Dean's fish breeding system, his fry system that he made, that's his DIY thing that he slowly tweaked over the years, and it really shows a lot of passion and a lot of effort that he puts into his fish. If I look at another YouTuber, Lowell Fish Labs, he 3D printed and slowly tweaked to make it his fry system, what worked for him, and there's tons and tons of these different things that you can do, and they don't have to be extravagant like a fry system. It could be something as your lids. It could be something as simple as maybe a container that you're harvesting specific, maybe live food for your fish. It could be DIY spawning mud. There's tons of different things. When you start to put effort into some of these things instead of buying them, it shows a level of effort and a passion for fish keeping that buying stuff just doesn't. Now, I'm not saying buying the thing is wrong, right? I know my level of skill, I know my limitations, and there's lots of things that I just buy. But when you have some things that you build yourself, like this fish stand here that you can kind of see, right? I built that guy myself. You know, these other racks, yeah, I bought. And so if you have a lot of things that you purchase, that's fine. But you'll find that there's going to be a few things that you made yourself, and I think that makes all the difference into how in tune you are with your fish. Sign number 5 that you're probably a great fish keeper is backup options. Now, normally you have to get burned once or twice before you learn your lesson, but these things happen. And so if you've been fish keeping for a number of years, then you probably ran into these things. And if you found solutions for them, then you're on the right track. And what am I talking about? I'm mainly talking about what happens if power goes out, right? And different things like that, where your tanks aren't filtering, they aren't being heated or cooled, whatever it needs to be. And so do you have these extra options, right? Now, this isn't a for sure sign, right? Because if you just have 1 or 2 fish tanks, right, or you haven't been fish keeping for a while, some of these things just wouldn't have happened if you think about it. But I have plenty of fish tanks. I have 14 fish tanks in this fish room alone, and I do have some backup options. So if the power does go out, I have a solar power generator that I can power these tanks with. I have a gas power generator that I can also, if I need it to. In addition to that, I got a battery powered pump that I can provide, I guess, filtration for, mainly for that oxygen exchange. And so when you hear about people having these backup options specifically for their fish, generally it means they're really thinking about them and they really care about their fish, and they want to ensure that they survive even if natural disasters occur. Sign number 6 that you're probably a good fish keeper, and that's quarantine. Now this one isn't a huge sign because if you only have one tank and that's all you have, chances are you're not going to quarantine all the time. It may not make sense. You're not buying fish all the time. But when you start to get multiple tanks, and I have, like I said, about 14 in this fish room here, you're going to want to make sure that you quarantine, right? I got a few species only tanks. I got some rare fish. I got some endangered fish. And so I want to make sure that I don't buy a molly or a pleco, whatever it happens to be, and it kills off 10, 20 different fish, right? And so having a quarantine system in place just shows that extra level of preparedness that shows, hey, I care about my fish, and I'm not going to have one sickly fish, one impulsive decision, right? I just want to get the fish in the tank and get them in there as soon as possible and enjoy this thing. You don't want that to ruin the lives of several other fish, right? And the headache that comes in with that. And so this is more of a learn thing, right? But generally, when I see people that have a quarantine system in place, their fish are much happier, much vibrant, they're more into a fish room. And so this is another good sign that if you have this in place, chances are you're doing really great at fish keep. Sign number 7 that you are probably great at fish keeping is you have some empty tanks, right? Now, if I look around, I think I have one empty tank, two, we'll say I have 2 empty tanks, 3 empty tanks at the moment. One is still cycling because I'm about to get an axolotl. There's going to be an aquascaping video coming soon, and him going into the tank, him and her, I don't know. But generally when I see people have a couple extra empty tanks laying around, it means they're prepared if, you know, they need to rescue a fish, if there's an explosion in babies that they need to move fish to, if there needs to be a quarantine, or more so that you can support even more fish to be quarantined before they go into wherever they need to go to, and whether that's quarantining plants or quarantining, you know, just fish. And so normally when I see people have a couple extra spare tanks that are just running, it just shows that level of preparedness, and it's mainly due to experience. Maybe you got bit a couple times and you learned the hard way that you're gonna have to have some options that you could just throw fish into. And so normally when I see fish rooms that have a couple empty tanks, their fish are normally dialed in, they're more tuned, their fish seem happier, there's less neglect involved. And so that is another good sign that I've noticed that may point to you being a pretty good fish keeper. All right, sign number 8 that you're probably a great fish keeper is you know your tap water chemistry, right? Not the chemistry of your tank water, even though that's going to be fairly similar, but I'm talking about just your tap water, right? And the reason why that's important because you'll know what kind of fish you can keep easily or what kind of fish are going to be more difficult for you to keep due to your specific water parameters, right? As it comes out of the tap. For me, where I live, my water is very soft, the TDS is extremely low, and so that's normally great for fish who like softer water. Now, it's very easy to increase hardness, more difficult to make water softer. So since I have softer water, I can have, you know, these fish, agouties and endlers and guppies and whatnot that like harder water because I can put in a ton of crushed coral or other minerals that stay in the tank and help buffer the water, right? But because I know my water parameters, I know I need to, right? And so normally whenever I'm talking to fish keepers and they know their water parameters, that means they know what needs to be done to ensure whatever fish they have or will get is not going to be stressed out by the water that they currently have. And people who don't know the water parameters as it comes out of the tap generally just aren't well informed on if this fish is actually best suited to be in their home, right? And so just knowing that allows you to be more prepared and give your fish a much better experience. Sign number 9, you're probably a great fish keeper. And this is another food one. So the first one was food diversity. This one is high effort food, right? So if you put a lot of work on just making the food to feed your fish when you could just buy a flake, chances are you probably care about your fish a lot. And so what are some of these high effort foods? I'm talking about some that you culture, whether that's baby brine or whether that's Walter worms or black worms worms, or even maybe mosquito larvae. Maybe you go collect mosquito larvae. I have a couple buckets outside covered in mosquito larvae. I get a turkey baster and I feed some of my fish, and they absolutely love it. I have a black worm bin down there where I'm culturing black worms, just so I can feed some of my fish some of these tasty treats that they definitely like. And so if you see folks, or if you have, right, some of these high effort food where you're putting in this kind of time and effort to either find or culture these types of food, chances are you really love your fish, you're giving them what they need, and that points to you being a really great fish keeper. Now, sign number 10, this is common among every good fish keeper I've ran into, and that is memberships. Now, whether that means you have a club membership and you have a fish club that you go regularly, or whether that's some kind of auction or swamp or expos that you go to all the time, or even like the association memberships, like the Live Bear Association or the Killifish Association, or I think maybe there's a beta, the Cichlid Association, right? If you're members to some of these larger national or international areas that have these large membership bases where they share knowledge and fish, then chances are you're doing something very right with your fish, because you care enough to look into those and connect and learn more at that capacity. And another shameless plug here, also, if you're subscribed to fish newsletters like mine, if you're interested, look down below in the description. Feel free to subscribe to that newsletter. They're free. Some of the older ones you have to pay for to get access, but the newer stuff that I put out is always free for like 6 months becomes paid. So definitely subscribe if you're interested in that. Well, guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. Let me know how many of these signs you have that show you're a great fish keeper, and if there's any of that I missed, make sure to leave those down below as well. And like always, I'll catch you guys next time.